Hello, peeps and creeps, and welcome to Fright Club. I'm Gav, he's Danny.
Hello.
We are the Fright Club and this is a brand new episode of Monday Night Frights. It's our Christmas special!
Woo! Merry Christmas
Ho,
from
ho,
me, Santa Claus.
ho!
Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas, everyone.
On tonight's show, we're talking about the classic 1974 horror slasher, Black Christmas.
Hello? Hello? Look, who is this?
Please stop. Oh, God.
What do you want? Why are you doing this?
And we're back with episode 6.8 of Monday Night Frights, and tonight we're talking about an absolute classic. It's Black Christmas from 1974.
Yeah.
Danny, or should I say Santa?
Santa Claus, obviously.
Santa Claus, what's the
Santa
crack?
Claus. Not a big lot, not a big lot. Just,
It's Christmas.
enjoying the festive season, living my best Santa life as you do. And yeah, I just before we start talking about Black Christmas, I just wanted to give a quick shout out. We've had our Gremlins festive screening down in the Braid there recently, and we had a fantastic turnout for it. We really want to thank anybody that came along that's watching.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I mean, it's one of our festive faves. We've already talked about it, but we're gonna talk about another. I'm assuming a festive fave for you. I hadn't seen it before. Before watching it for this, and not gonna lie, Gav,
You didn't like it.
it was all right. It was fine. It's one of those ones I'm like, why? Like, why is it like you could have Black Christmas, Black Easter, Black Valentine's? Like, it's a story that just coincidentally takes place at Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's one of those ones that it's got a lot of like those like urban myth tropes in that stuff was happening, and I was like, he's in the house. It's not the boyfriend,
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot of stuff that I was like, I seen it coming a mile off. But again, it's because I fucking watched every other fucking thing going beforehand. So it was good. It was okay. Some of the acting was a bit.
Sorry, I have to stop you there 1 second because I forgot about this here.
Oh, I'm sorry. I started to rant. I do
It's okay. I
apologize.
forgot. Where the fuck is this?
Go on, Gav. Turn yourself on.
Now, should I leave it like that, or should I leave it like that, or should I just have them on?
Go
I think I'll just have them.
Go the slow blink. I like the slow blinky, not too quick.
I know,
blinky.
but I think that might be distracting.
Okay, yeah, go for that. Turn off the big
this
light.
is distracting.
Turn off the big light and see what you look like with just the glow.
That's the way over there. Can't be bothered. We'll get into Black Christmas in a second, but I just want to reiterate what you were saying about our Gremlin screening.
Yes, yeah.
It was a fucking brilliant night. Really great turnout, and people really enjoyed the screening. We had a good laugh.
Yeah, go check out the socials for the photos. Yeah, you get to see me dressed in full Santa garb. You get to see Gav wearing his Gremlins Christmas jumper. You'll see Stripe. You'll see Gizmo. We gave away a Blu-ray edition of the movie along with some Gizmo socks. Everybody's favorite Christmas present, socks.
Yeah.
With a couple of stickers from our friends over at They Live We Geek as well. Yep. So that was really nice for our lucky winner.
It was, yep. And we had a cool display, with Christmas lights, and we had the Casio keyboard, the OG 80s Casio keyboard.
An OG Casio keyboard, yeah.
Gizmo had a wee go on that as well. But even on top of all that, a very special surprise that we did not advertise to the people that were coming to the screening. We had a very special surprise intro from the man himself, Mr. Joe Dante. He was
absolutely fabulous.
Wished us all the best for the screening, and just sort of was saying that he's still, to this day, all these years later, he's very surprised at how popular the film is. And I don't know why he's surprised, because I mean, I've watched it so many times I can't even remember, but I was watching it, and from start to finish I had a smile on my face the whole time I was watching it. It was just such a great film, and it's really good to see it with an audience as well, because everyone was like, there was actually a couple of younger kids there, which I was a wee bit like, but they were
God.
I
The
know.
younger, it was great. It was great to have families there. It was absolutely fantastic, and we really appreciate families coming out to enjoy that film together because, as Joe Dante said in his little introduction, it's a film best enjoyed in the company of others. So to
Hmm.
have families there was fantastic. But you know what? The one thing I always completely forget about
Uh-huh.
is when they say Santa's not real,
I
or
know.
they deliver that line. That's how I knew Santa wasn't real. I was like,
Oh,
oh, awkward
cover your
conversations on the way
ears.
home, huh?
I know.
But
But Santa,
yeah,
of course, is
fantastic,
very
mate.
real. He
Obviously,
is.
I'm right here.
He's real. Yes. Right. So Black Christmas. This was your first viewing of it.
This was my first viewing.
I had
Yeah.
seen it before. I think I've only seen it once before, to be honest with you. Like it felt quite fresh. I knew what was happening. I knew what was going to happen and stuff, and I kind of knew the end, but it kind of felt fresh as I was watching it earlier today. And you were sort of saying that I kind of knew what was going to happen, and yes, it is very tropey, but it was, this is kind of regarded as being like one of the first
Mhm.
slashers of the modern era, even though it was 1974,
Yeah.
almost 50 years ago. But this kind of kicked off the whole modern slasher era that we know of. It was 4 years before Halloween came out. And then obviously Halloween influenced Jason, Friday the 13th, and Friday the 13th then influenced so many copycats after that. So, and this was also a huge influence to not just John Carpenter, but to Wes Craven when he was making Scream, and you can see that, straight away from this film. But I do love it. It's not one of my favorite slashers. I don't think it's the most exciting
No.
slasher out there. It certainly doesn't have the kind of intrigue or kind of the cool shots like Halloween
Yeah.
does or Scream. It
It's a
doesn't
bit.
have the comedy either.
No.
You can see where all those other films sort of
It's
took
it's a
from
good
this.
foundation. Yeah, it's got some good foundations there, and obviously set the way for a lot of others beforehand. But
Hmm.
the pacing at the start for me was a bit kind of slow and janky, and it wasn't until the kind of final act that everything then really
Hmm.
the pace started to go out. Whenever they're waiting for the phone call and stuff, that's
Yeah,
when the
yeah, yeah.
pace really got good for me. And then kind of it's almost like you can see the film getting better as it goes on. It's like they learned how to make it as they went
Mm.
along. Like it doesn't feel quite as polished at the start as it does towards the end.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with the pace. Like after that opening scene, when the girl goes missing, um, it's a wee bit sort of slow, and you kind of get a lot of stuff that nothing really happens. It's kind of setting up characters and stuff, but it's mostly setting up the red herring of Peter being the sort of angry boyfriend. But it does seem to
Mhm.
go on for a little longer than, there may have been something that they could have slipped in there to make it a wee bit more exciting just before you kind of got to that part. But no, it's a great film, and for me, I think it should be up there because it did influence John Carpenter's Halloween so much, and then that obviously influenced, as I said, Friday the 13th and all these other films that came after it. So I wouldn't say it was the first slasher. Like it's the first slasher that took that template, and basically loads of films kind of copied this screenplay and
Yeah.
just sort of changed the location and changed a few little things with it and maybe put more kills and maybe made it a wee bit more gory or whatever, but they basically
It's
took
only
this they took this screenplay and just changed it slightly, and then
yeah.
almost every slasher that came after it kind of used that template.
Use a lot of the bits and pieces. Because what we only really get to see 3 kills in this. Everything else either happens off camera or is just referenced to. You
Um,
know,
is it three? Is there three? I
we
think it's
get
two.
the bag kill. We get the kill of the house mother,
Miss
and we get the
Mac.
kill with the unicorn glass unicorn as well.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah,
And
right
then
enough. So I mean, obviously that's budget issues, and also sometimes the less is more,
mhm.
which we've learned from other films as well. I think a lot of people could potentially go further back than this and say, look, the likes of Psycho and Peep and Tom that both came out in 1960 were obviously huge influences towards this as well. And people will be like, oh, they were the first slasher movies, particularly Peep and Tom, because Peep and Tom used a lot of POV shots
Which
that
again,
is
this film
is used in this.
opens with a
Yeah,
nice POV. Yeah.
yeah. I would say I think the difference between Peep and Tom and what I would consider a modern day slasher movie is that in Black Christmas you don't know who the killer is.
Yeah.
Whereas in Psycho and Peep and Tom, well, Psycho, obviously it's
You find out
him or
towards
his
the
mother
end.
type thing, but um, you see the kill, it's the mother, even though it's him. But and Peep and Tom, you see, he's the killer. So
he's the killer. Yeah.
in
Whereas
this one,
this,
it's very much a mystery, and that sort of set the template for a lot of other slashers, and that kind of became a very important ingredient in the slasher film going forward. Either it's a mystery man where you don't see anybody,
yeah,
just the hands and stuff, or it's somebody wearing a mask, which obviously became very popular in after Halloween and the whole way through the 80s and even right into the 90s.
yeah.
It was directed by Bob Clark, so Bob Clark also directed another Christmas film called A Christmas Story from 1983,
What?
is it? Or 86? It's early
What?
80s
He
anyway.
directed a Christmas
He
Story?
directed A Christmas Story, yeah,
That's
very
weird.
famous Christmas film,
Yeah.
completely, different from this, obviously. But he also directed Porky's,
Yeah.
Porky's,
Yeah. I remember Porky's, yeah.
which is class 80s comedy. So it was written by a screenwriter called Roy Moore, who I was looking at some of other stuff that he did, and this is really the only thing of note that kind of sticks out in his career. I think he only wrote 8 or 9 screenplays. He worked on some TV stuff, but he didn't nothing that kind of sticks out. So, which is kind of bizarre. You don't see that a lot. Usually, if somebody
No, it's not.
has some success, they tend to be hired to do other things. I don't know, maybe if he fell off the radar or whatever. But his original script that he wrote, um was inspired by true crime, which we'll get into in a minute. But I think the original script was called Stop Me, and it was about a killer, but it wasn't set in a sorority, or it wasn't, set at Christmas or anything like that. That was something that I think director Bob Clark kind of brought to it after they got the script. So I'm assuming that Clark changed quite a bit to the script, even though he's not credited as a writer.
Yeah.
Weirdly, it wasn't called Black Christmas in the US as well. It was called Silent Night, Evil Night.
Silent Night, Evil Night?
Yeah, which is I don't know why they changed.
Was already.
It must be something to do with
I'm trying to
Christmas
think.
and Christians, and
Silent
the way
Night,
US
Deadly
is
Night.
very,
They would be
they're weird
all
about
over it all.
holidays and stuff. I mean, now it would be fine, but back then in the early 70s it would have been a very weird thing. But I don't know really why. But no, there's Silent Night, Deadly Night, which was a movie that was made in the 80s, which was a crazy Santa movie.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
this, I'm assuming that this was a bit of an homage
Homage.
to
Homage.
Silent Night, Bloody Night, which was out a couple of years before this, which a lot of people would say that was one of the first modern slashers. Although I think Black Christmas kind of puts everything together a little bit better. The cast in this, so we have Margot Kidder, who we love. She was Lois Lane in Superman, obviously, and she's fantastic in this. Although I don't think she gets enough screen time in this for me. We have Olivia Hussey.
Hussey.
She's a wee Hussey boy.
Hussey.
I'm not sure if you pronounce her name Hussey or Hussey, so I don't mean to disparage her name by saying Hussey, but so I apologize. But she's the main. She plays Jess. She's the main girl in it, the final girl, I suppose, of the film. And then we have Keir Dullea, who is Peter, the boyfriend. He's famous for being in 2001: Space Odyssey. And of course,
that's
yeah.
I didn't.
You saw him, didn't you?
I couldn't put my finger on.
There was a screening a couple of years ago.
Yeah, there was a screening. Yeah. I couldn't put my finger on why I recognized him, but that's it.
He's got shorter hair and that, but
and then what do you call the police chief in this?
Yeah, John Saxon.
I knew the face and was like, you're in fucking loads of shit.
Nancy Thompson's dad from The Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yes.
So he's very famous for playing police officers. That was kind of one thing that he was, it's not a stigma, I suppose. I mean, he was a very successful actor, but yeah, he was sort of typecast as kind of like that kind of role, police chief or sheriff or police officer or something.
I'm a cop.
I know he obviously did Enter the Dragon as well. Or no, was it Way of the Dragon? Can't remember. He was one of those two. And then he also starred in Dario Argento's, fuck, what one was it? Tenebrae, I think. Yeah, I think it was that too. But yeah, great. I mean, he plays that role very, very well.
Mhm.
Obviously, he got so many of those types of roles. But Olivia Hussey, I recognized her from what was she in? She's in Stephen King's It. She plays in part. No, sorry, do you know the older, not Georgie? What's the other called? What's the brother called? Bill, isn't it?
But yeah.
The older brother, Bill. When he's an older character, he's a a writer obviously, and she plays his wife, I think, in that.
Oh.
Um, and she also played Norma Bates in Psycho 4, which is a nice little sort of, because we were talking about Psycho there, a nice
Hmm.
little throwback to Psycho. But she was famous for playing Juliet in like an early 70s version, like maybe no 68, maybe 68 it was, version
Hmm.
of Romeo and Juliet. I think she was only like 16 in it or something, 16 or
Yeah.
17, so she was very young. She's stunning though. Um, her accent was weird though, wasn't it? It was very
It was
up and
weird,
down.
like,
She's English, but I think she's got some sort of either French or South American or something.
right?
Maybe South American, but
Yeah.
she's
I
got
just kind
something.
of, it was kind of the English accent was kind of throwing me off because everyone else very obviously American,
Yeah,
and then but they never kind of give her a reason
yeah.
for,
It was a
or
very
not that I can
weird
really
English
recall.
accent as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
suppose they don't really need to, but
No, well, that's it. I mean, you don't have to give a reason for everything, but
I
yeah,
know.
you're right. It was sort of a strange one again. Like, you're right. Your guy that plays the police chief, I would say, was probably the strongest performance in this.
Hmm.
Like, there's a lot of the other ways through it. Like, your fella who played the dad that was coming to pick his daughter up. I was like, man, you're really fucking hamming this up, aren't you?
The
Like,
guy that looks a wee bit like Donald Sutherland, like a bald Donald Sutherland. If you look
I
at
think
him, yeah,
so.
yeah, yeah. If you look at his face,
I don't.
not as long. He had a squishy
Mhm.
face,
Like a
uh,
Squitch Donald.
but big
And I'm like,
eyes.
ooh.
Ooh, it's like, he had a lot of facials like.
Mhm.
Ooh.
But yes, yeah. I mean, I enjoyed it, but it was one of those ones that I think because I'd seen everything that came
Aye.
after, I very much was kind of like, yeah, okay, here we
Uh,
go.
That's the thing when you haven't seen something from so many years ago and you go back to watch it and you go, well, what's so good about it? But then you have to think and you go, oh, hang on, I've seen this so many
When it's a
times. Like
product of its
you
time,
go,
and
hang
yeah,
on, that's why it's so good because so many films copied
influenced
plot
by it.
twists and little things that happened. I mean, just little things that
Yeah,
happened in the
I think I
film.
can appreciate it that it inspired so many, but as a movie itself, I just didn't think it was
Mm.
overly well put together. Like it's good, but it's yeah. Meh.
I think you're being a wee bit harsh there, Danny.
I probably
Anyway,
am. I
we'll
probably
probably do
am.
that thing where I talk it up and then by the end you're like, actually it was fucking brilliant.
Actually, it was
Remember we
actually
did
pretty
that?
good.
What was the
No, I
film we did
don't.
that with? Oh, I Nightmare. We do that with Nightmare on Elm Street sometimes.
Yeah, we do that with a few of the Nightmare on Elm Streets, but
I'm a
no, this
fucking
one I don't
gangster.
think there's. I don't think you're talking
You're a
around.
fucking
I wish I was film more.
Christmas gangster.
Should have had like a big, like
I do
Rudolph the
have one
Red
here
Nosed
for you.
Reindeer pendant or something.
I know. Ah, well, sure. You've got the
See,
beard.
we'll get it next time.
You've got the
Exactly.
best accessory. And it's a real beard too.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It's already starting to get. I need to bleach it
The
again.
wee dark bits are
Um.
coming through.
Mhm.
Right, so
Budget.
the
Give me
budget,
them
I
numbers,
think
Kev.
obviously you spoke about. I got really loud there. I'm sorry for anybody listening
Ah.
with headphones. I apologize. You spoke about, we spoke about the kills, and there's a wee bit of blood. It's not gory. It's more of a sort of mystery thriller really than a horror. Although
Yeah.
there is, I do like there is a couple of good jump scares in it.
Mhm.
And I do like that it's got a sort of giallo-esque feel to this, because just the way the camera moves and stuff, and we'll get into that a wee bit in a second. But I think the budget was only 600,000. So when you think of it like that, you think, hang on a second, this is a film here that was made for just over 500,000. It made somewhere in the vicinity of about 4 or 5 million at the box office, which is massive. I mean, obviously it didn't do Halloween numbers, but Halloween would
Yeah.
just fucking go mad a couple of years after this. But that's because Halloween had the boogeyman, it had the shape, it had,
Yeah.
a really scary figure and an
Uh,
iconic
yeah.
scenes. This
Yeah.
this
It's
film
Halloween,
has,
it.
yeah, yeah. This film has some iconic scenes. Um, if you haven't seen the film, I don't think it's something that you would know much about though. Which obviously
No.
Michael Myers and all these other big slashers have got these villains that are very, very noticeable, and you can just pull them out of a crowd easy. Whereas this film doesn't have this. But yeah, so it made a good bit of money. Um, it definitely
Oh.
has it definitely has a giallo feel to it. I think the way the camera moves, and talking about the POV shots. Um, Peeping Tom did POV way back in 1960, but what I like about this POV is that the camera moves very much like the character's moving. So it
It's
was kind of
erratic
like,
and yeah.
yeah, it was kind of like a first-person shooter game. It was a bit like sort of like
Yeah.
BioShock or something. You could see
Aye.
his hands in the camera as he was walking, and the camera was moving.
He's
You know,
fumbling about the
it,
place and he's erratic and
yeah, it
yeah.
felt like it was literally you were watching it through his eyes rather than just like this kind of camera that was literally just panning about. It was kind of jittery and you could see his hands and stuff. And I really
Yeah.
liked that. And I think that brought a little bit more of a kind of not found footage, but it brought you into the story a little bit more. So
It made it
I appreciated
creepier.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I like the POV stuff. And I like that. I like that you didn't actually really get to see the bar the POV and then the voice on the phone and those few shots where you get a glimpse at him. You don't actually really get to see the killer in
Mm.
all his glory in this movie, which I think adds a nice air to it. I think that was one of the things that I probably liked the most about it was that you don't really get to know. Um, but yeah, it's one of those things like thinking about it, you sort of talked about how like Halloween came along and was like a massive success. And I'm kind of wondering at the time of this film's release, was there an appetite for Christmas horror? Like Halloween, people want to be scared, they want a
Mm.
scary movie. Whereas like this film for me, it as I said at the start, it's not like it doesn't need to be Christmas to happen. You could do, as I said, Black Easter, Black Valentine's, Black Thanksgiving. It doesn't necessarily the whole Christmas aspect almost kind of took me out of it a bit because it was like whenever the carolers show up at the door and stuff, I was like, I understand that that's the distraction for the killer to do his thing to her mate, but at the same time, I was like, you could have used any other distraction there. It just so happens that there's a bunch of carolers out, whilst there's
Colors.
all carolers, whilst there's also a search party looking for the killer of a young girl in the park, which
Mm.
again was a whole other like little side story part that
Yeah.
I I I like that as well, that there's something going on whilst there's also a killer in the house. But I also feel like there maybe need to be a bit more to either link the two or to completely separate the two. Like we caught the killer of the girl in the park, or something to suggest that it was him as well. I feel
Yeah.
like there maybe should have been something to link the two. I think I would have really liked it had it been that there just happened to be like a load of killers in that town on Christmas. I don't
I,
know.
yeah, no, I know I know what you're saying about the whole Christmas thing. Yeah, it didn't. I mean, it wasn't an important part of the film as such. The other girls were away on their Christmas break, so it only
Uh,
left the four girls or whatever it was. And also I just think it was maybe it was a bit of a gimmick, I suppose. But I think Bob Clark said that, as I said earlier on in the video, the original script didn't have anything to do with Christmas. It was just a straight up killer. And
mhm.
I think that he wanted to inject something kind of new into it. And I suppose he knew that, oh, if you add a holiday to something, I mean, holidays weren't a thing back then and wouldn't really become a thing until after Halloween. But um, he kind of had the foresight even before John Carpenter and thought, if we put a holiday to this, this will be something that everyone will watch at this time of the year. And
Yeah.
also, it's, there's not that many out there. There's a few out there, but not that many.
Yeah, it's
So
becoming more
yeah,
popular in the last while, but yeah, I suppose there isn't really
well,
many
there's loads
Christmas
now, obviously, but
horrors.
I'm
Yeah,
saying back then, there was only a
that time.
couple, and even the ones that were, it was quite a vague thing. It wasn't, and this didn't have a killer Santa, so it wasn't
No,
anything to do with the holiday as
but
such.
I think that's one of the things I kind of half expected watching it was that the killer was going to appear in like a Santa costume or something
Ah,
festive. And then, when he was kind of in the attic, I was like, he's going to fucking come crawling down their chimney or some shit. And
yeah,
it never happened. I like that. I kind of like the idea that he was in the attic, though, that he was up on the roof. That kind
that
of,
was really
that
creepy,
notion.
man.
Yeah, like when he's sort of fumbling around in the attic and he's like, I'm sorry,
Uh,
like speaking to the corpses and shit. I was like, this fucked up. You know what really unsettled me? Like, really turned, like, it was starting to turn me that much that I was like, I kind of want to turn this down. Like, I want to lower the phone calls, man.
mm,
Really,
yes,
really, like, the
I'd
first one kind of
forgotten
happened. Yeah, like how
that
sinister
they were
and
so creepy. Pardon me.
really, yeah, like you're almost. I was like, that's fucking whoever was doing those, that's bound to have done something to their mind, like coming out with that shit and doing it with those different wee voices and all. Because the first one happens and you're kind of like, it's a bit fucking mental, but all right. But then as they go on, you're like, fucking hell, like that's really
Yeah,
like just
but
sinister and
I think
ugly, like really
yeah,
awful sounding.
I think obviously the first one's like a dirty call,
Yeah, dirty call,
and he's
yeah.
like, I wanna, whatever. But
Pink
after that,
pussy.
I know
Oh no, pink cunt. And you're
he
like,
says "cunt"
oh,
about 10 times, and he's like,
yeah, you're like,
come over and
Jesus
suck my
Christ.
cock" or something.
Which again is for like an American audience to use cunt is
Mm,
like that's strong, like really strong
mm-hmm,
language. And
mm,
then it's that moment. That first one is kind of you're like, oh, fucking dirty, breathy call.
mm,
But then he finishes with that very fucking one tone, I'm gonna kill you. I was like,
mm.
oh, oh,
Yeah,
oh,
oh, there was no need for that
But
now.
no, that
They've
whole,
went
but
too
again,
far.
the fact that they fucking take so long to go to I was like, fucking hell, go straight to the police with that.
I know,
Nobody fucking
I
calls and
know.
threatens you in your own house. Jesus
But
Christ.
I think with the calls as well, like I had forgotten how creepy they were as well.
Hmm.
I just assumed they were a wee bit more like straight up, a wee bit like what Scream did, you know,
Yeah.
later on, and or what was that other film, When a Stranger Calls as well, sort of took that kind of, you know, babysitter in the house and there's a killer in the house type thing.
Yeah.
But with these calls, they didn't even sound it didn't even sound human. Some of the calls, it sounded like
Yeah.
it was two or three different recordings of the same person putting on a different accent or a voice, but it sounded very, to me, it sounded, it reminded me of The Exorcist. Do you know the
Yeah.
way when she talks and it's like that you can hear like two or three different voices in the back underneath, different pitches and different kind of cadences and accents, and it sounded a wee bit like that. Um, so that was The Exorcist came out the year before this. So I wonder, did they sort of, obviously they didn't go full demonic or anything, but they kind of thought, oh, let's kind of make it a wee bit more creepier and kind of
Yeah.
non-human like. So
I got psycho from them, with the whole like, what you do with the baby? I
uh
don't know, I with the baby, and then it seemed to be like a conversation between like what's the killer's called? Is it Bill?
Billy and then
Is it
Agnes is like
Billy?
something
Billy
called
and Agnes,
Agnes.
yeah. So I was kind of like, are they like a father son dynamic? And she's asking him what they've done with
Hmm.
the baby, and it's just I was getting psycho from that.
Hmm.
But yeah, what a fucking just deranged, really. Yeah, they really did that. Really, of all the films I think we've watched so far for Fright Club, that's the one where I kind of started to get a bit unsettled. I felt it
Really?
was very, yeah. Just I was kind of like that. Really, just is unsettling me.
Yeah.
Making me real uncomfortable. I feel like I didn't actually end up. I didn't turn it down because they normally were over sort of fairly quickly.
They
But
were
I think had
short.
there been one that went on a bit longer, like whenever she asked, they're like keep him on the phone longer. I was like, please don't. I don't want to have to fucking keep listening to that. It's
Hmm.
fucking awful.
I know. So talking about influences, obviously we know you know this was a big influence on John Carpenter's Halloween.
Hmm.
Um, just from the idea of a killer and like the shape, and you don't see his face, and obviously he added the mask and added a lot of different elements and stuff, but you know the POV and stuff and all that kind of thing. But I love that it influenced Scream as well years later because of the phone calls and that kind of, you know, opening up with a phone call. And not it didn't have the phone call as early as Scream does, but you
No.
know the phone calls was obviously a massive part of this film. But also certain shots were recognizable in films that you'd see later on, and there was one shot in it, particularly near the end, that fucking got me. And I tell you why it got me, because the shot that I think it influenced years later also got me. And we've already spoken about this movie. We spoke about Saw way back in
Hmm.
season 2, I think,
Yep.
of Monday Night Frights. And there's a character in that, Michael Emerson's character, who is the orderly, who's helping Jigsaw. I can't remember his name, but you know the guy. He's in Lost as well. He plays Ben in Lost. Michael Emerson. So he's been tasked with kidnapping the guy's kid, or kidnapping the guy, and but that this is a game that he's playing as well. So, but there's a scene in that where he's hiding in the closet, and the wee girl, I think it's a wee girl, looks up and sees, and the camera zooms in, and you just see the fucking eyeball just between the
Yeah,
closet.
man.
That
This,
shot,
yes.
that shot is was heavily influenced by this film, because that same shot happens in this film, and it
Yep.
fucking that oh, see just the
The eye
close up.
shot is that's
Oh,
fucking,
and
and
then he
it's
sort of
it's almost like
the eyes move
red.
back and forth. Yeah,
It's
it's that's
jittery
oh
and
terrifying,
red in
man.
it, and it's fucking, yeah. That was a really good shot. The POVs in this, any close up stuff is great. I like the shots, the close ups where it's, the glass unicorn going back and forth,
Mm.
and as it pulls back, you're getting more and more blood on the horn and stuff like that. The shot.
That's like that's sorry, that's a very giallo-esque thing. So there's quite a lot of that in this film.
Mhm.
Well, not
There's
really the kills, but more the close-ups of the hands and stuff.
I love the kind of final, the very end of the film, the final shot where it's you're up in the attic and the house mother is there and the camera pulls back, and then you see the girl with plastic around her face and it keeps pulling back, and then we're outside the attic window and the girl with plastic on her face is lit by a single candle, and the
Hmm.
camera just keeps pulling back to a lovely big wide at the sorority house. And yeah, I loved that. Just that, almost, it's almost like a single shot, just pulling
Hmm.
back from the attic to outside the house, and then just going to jump straight to the end here because might as well. But
Go
you
for it.
get that nice big wide, and the phone rings,
Hmm.
the police, and you're on like, do you think, they sort of mentioned earlier in the film, every time there's a kill, every time he's killed somebody, he calls the phone. Did he kill Jess? She was left on her own in the house. She's been knocked out for 4 hours.
Don't
They've
think
given
so.
her a sedative,
Nah,
but
because uh, I don't think so. Nah, maybe. I just think that it was
that's
just a
why I got
thing.
from the end of that, wherever, because everyone's left the house. There's one policeman left at the front door. She's been left up in the bedroom on her
Hmm.
own, and then the phone rings. I was like, he's only gone and fucking got her.
Yeah, nah. Well, maybe. I don't know.
Mhm.
I
Let us
didn't
know in the
actually.
comments below
Yeah,
what
if
you
you think
think.
Jess is dead, let us know.
Yeah.
But I didn't think of that. I just thought it was just like a nice wee sort of
Are we sticking
stinger at the
in?
end, you know,
No, that
because
was. I was like, he's only
uh,
gone and bloody got her.
I know, Jesus Christ. So yeah, there's so many lovely shots. I particularly love the how the camera moves in this film. I love cameras and how they move and stuff. So we get a nice shot at the start, which, you know, whenever we go into the sorority house, it kind of moves from the window to window, which is quite a common shot in 70s films. You saw it in Halloween as well. I know we're mentioning Halloween quite a lot, but you know, there's a reason why we are doing this, because it was so influenced by Black Christmas. But the way the camera moves through the windows and stuff, I love that shot. And that shot at the very end that you're saying was a beautiful shot too. There's a great
Great
shot
shot.
whenever she's in the basement and she thinks that the killer is outside. Well, it's Peter, her boyfriend, who then she then suspects is the
No,
killer.
no. Yeah.
there's a great shot where she's hiding in the shadows and you just see his silhouette against the windows,
His
and he
silhouette, how
moves
because he's almost like stretched out. You
very,
know, he
very
looks
monster-like, isn't it?
alien-esque, yeah. And then as he moves to again, you get that nice moment where he's like wiping the frost away off the window, and you just get his eye looking in through the frosted window. I was like,
Yeah.
nice. And her just in the shadows, and every time she kind of peeks out, she peeks out that wee bit more, but again, still just like a lot of shadow
Uh-huh.
covering one half of her face. Yeah. This again, it's one of those films. I think it starts off with the POV, and then it's a bit boring in terms of like what's going on and how it looks, and then it suddenly gets really good again, like
Mm.
the shots and stuff. You know what shot I actually really liked, and it's not in the sorority house or anything like that. You know when your man is trying to track the phone call and he's going along those aisles
Mm.
of like
Yes,
the
yes,
receiver
the
boxes,
center, yeah.
and whenever it's just panning along and you're getting like him going along each of the wee corridors, and it's just like going along with him from the other side of the room. I like that. I like those.
Yeah. Um, it's good, man. There's a lot of nice shots in there now, to be fair.
There's nice shots. I know.
Like, you can,
Stop trying to make me like
but
it.
it was. I mentioned at the start of the film I mentioned at the
Start
start
of
of
the
the
film.
video that it was inspired by a true crime, a real life murder that I think happened in Montreal. The script was based on this killer called the Lipstick Killer, who, well, there was two crimes. The title of the title of the script was called Stop Me, and that was based on a killer called the Lipstick Killer, who, after killing his victims, who were all female, he would write in lipstick "Stop Me." So he'd be almost inviting the policeman to try to challenge them to find him to stop. But it was also based on another. The actual whole story was kind of based on another true crime from Montreal in 1943, where this young kid just killed his family in the house. And I think the original script, I mentioned that it wasn't based in a sorority house, so I don't know if the original script was more just a family house or not. I'm not really sure, but I'm kind of glad that they changed it because, at least I love films that have like one sentence, one location, where it'll
Yeah.
be a hospital or, a museum or a sorority house or cinema or something like that, a theater,
We don't
whatever.
really. I'm trying to think. What do we have? Like the sorority house, the police station, and then like a music hall type place where Peter goes to rehearse, are really the only
Yeah,
three
yeah,
settings we have, and then the place where they're doing the phone stuff. But
yeah.
like, there's not a lot of
They
set
you
pieces
have a
in
you have a
this.
couple of
But
outdoor settings, the park and stuff, but
yeah,
they're all, you can tell that there's no wide shots. It's all quite close. Um, I mean, again, budget issues. They just basically went out and went, right, let's pick somewhere dark. It's all at night as well. Most of it's at night.
yep.
There's very little sunlight or any sort of light during this film at all.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but we sort of talked about how it's not as iconic, obviously, as the likes of Michael Myers or Jason or Ghostface or even lesser known slashers that came in between all those films, which is a shame. But I think that one of the most iconic images from the film is the girl with the bag over her head, which
Mm-hmm.
is the first kill,
Yep.
and it is fucking shocking. Like, I know it's
Yep.
not the most gruesome kill or whatever, but I think that whole setup, that was one of my favorite scenes of the whole movie, was the girl Claire who goes back to her dorm room and she's getting ready to leave. She's going to meet her father and then they're going to leave for the holidays. So
Mm-hmm.
she's kind of getting ready to go, and she's quite an innocent girl. Out of all the girls there, she doesn't drink a lot, and they I think isn't Margot Kidder calls her a virgin and all this and sort of
Mm-hmm.
that kind of thing.
I like that there's that nice kind of flipping though of, just because she's the innocent virginal character doesn't mean she's going to survive,
No, 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 no,
It's
not at
straight from
all.
the top. She's the one that gets off first. Uh-huh.
I know. But she gets done with a bag over her head, and I like how it's set up because she hears like a noise. There's a
The
house. There's
cat.
a cat, Claude.
The house
Yeah.
cat, yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
she hears Claude, and she keeps calling him. She's walking towards her closet, And as she turns to walk away, the camera zooms into this kind of like plastic jacket or something. What is it?
It's
It's
like
like a,
cellophane wrap.
is it? But
That's
it's
what it is.
around. It's around. Is it not hanging up though?
Well, it's maybe the stuff off a jacket, maybe
Yeah, it's
that
like
you would
round
hang
a jacket or
over
something.
like a dry cleaner bag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was a great shot because it was kind of took you out of, you're like, fuck, there's some guy behind that. And I love that just kind of, oh my God, somebody's watching, somebody's in the room. And then she fucks about for a while and she goes back over and then we get that kind of shot where the guy just lunges at her. And the actress who played Claire obviously knew there was somebody behind there, but she wasn't aware. She didn't know when this guy was going to jump out, so that reaction was real.
Mhm.
And it was a
That's
good scare. I think it was a
it's
pretty good scare.
fucking it's pretty like that moment where he like jumps out at her and the idea of the even just watching that cellophane stuff being wrapped around her face fucking
Yeah,
had me like
I know.
like what a grim what an absolute fucking grim way for someone to attack you with a load of fucking
Yeah,
plastic around the
I
gob
know.
like no
And
thanks.
then you see it later on a few times whenever we go back to the attic.
Mhm.
And it is, man, it's spooky, like,
It's her just the shock on her face with all the like plastic going into
and
her
her eyes
mouth,
are
you
opened
know.
and her mouth's
Uh-huh.
opened and it's really tight around her mouth and
hmm
um yeah, it's quite disturbing to be fair.
hmm
But
And then
other
as you go back, like the shots that return, he seems to have done something different with her body every day. You know, like, there's a wee doll sitting with her.
yeah,
One like a wee creepy China doll, which again, creepy China doll's fucking a big no no for me. Like, so when
yeah,
I
of
seen that, I
course.
was like,
Um, in terms of kills, though, we mentioned that there's not a lot of kills. I think there's only three kills that you see. Nothing really stands out other than that original kill. You like the glass one.
I like that. Yeah, I like that. There, we don't have to see like it. We don't have to see her getting stabbed. We just get the idea of the fact that she is being stabbed by it because every time the glass unicorn comes back, we just see that bit more blood on the horn. But again, this film doesn't even have a lot of blood. Most of the blood, I think, is confined to that one scene where it's like all coming off the glass horn. I liked whenever the house mother got killed, he uses like some sort of pulley system that's in the attic to like
Yeah, I see him
hurt
holding
her
and it's
face.
like a hook, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what's he gonna do with this hook? Because like he's not actually aiming it, and then as she turns around slowly, he sort of throws it at her and it catches her, and then yeah,
Yeah.
um,
Because again, she's looking for Claude. She goes
I
off
know.
looking for
Fuck it, it's
where
all the
was
cat's
Claude?
fault. It's
Where
all the
was
cat's
Claude?
fault.
I would
Tell
love
you,
to
man.
know because he was obviously using the cat to try and lure people up to the attic. But like, where the fuck was Claude? Is
Dude,
Claude okay? Did Claude survive? Oh, God, don't kill Claude.
he's dead, mate.
Not we Claude.
I know.
But yeah,
Hate it. There was
yeah, the
another
kills in
scene.
this were. I mean, it's implied that then the girl with the glasses, her mate, the second to last one,
Oh, well, Phil.
uh, she the door just slams and we just have to assume that she gets murdered.
Ah, you sure you see her?
You see her murdered, you see her body, but we don't
You see
actually
her. You
see
don't see you
her. The
see
two
her.
of them are lying on
Yeah.
the bed, and yeah, because Jess opens the door, they're both lying there on the bed, but you don't actually see her get murdered.
No. Budget. Don't need to.
Watch it, yeah.
Uh, other than that, we've a couple of jump scares, nothing major, and I like that it's more of a mystery thriller. They don't go too heavy with the jump scares that loads of films would really go into after this, but um, it is kind of subtle in places. Maybe as you say, a bit too subtle. Maybe there should have been something more happening during that kind of lull in
Yeah,
between. But I do like there's another scene when it's fucking disturbing. The killer goes mad. He's on the phone and he just starts screaming and shouting and he starts fucking smashing things up and I don't know, man. Those phone calls were really disturbing.
they really
Um,
fucking they threw me through a loop like I did. I was not having a good time listening to those.
mhm.
Yeah, I like I said, I think one of those sort of things where I think if I had received a phone call like that in real life, I would have ended it. I
Yeah.
wouldn't have stuck around for that. Like, no way, no how. And I know that's one of the things like she kind of says Jess says at one point, like she was getting her wits end having to
Mm,
listen to it whenever they're like, you need to keep them on the phone longer. But yeah, you know what? You kind of said at the heart. You said at the start that this film doesn't really have the humor that some of the later slashers have, but the humor in this was good. Like there isn't a lot of it, but again, it's interesting then that you mentioned he went on to do Porky's, because I thought some of the humor in this was that kind of tongue in cheek
Yeah,
sort of
there's
crude
definitely
humor
like
that
some sexual innuendos and stuff.
yeah, like whenever your girl that starts dad comes into the room and the house mother like covers the poster with
Yeah,
the peace symbol with the two people lying and there's a wee bum on it. And she
fucking.
like is leaning against the wall covering that up to try and hide it from the dad, but then he goes and looks behind the door anyway because he knows that she was trying to cover something up.
I like
Um
I actually liked her as a character
yeah,
because
the house mother, her with the the bottles of
I know
drink heading all
she's
over
got
the
them hidden
house.
everywhere. Because
Uh
I think when you think of somebody in that role, you might think, oh, she's going to be quite stern.
yes.
She's going to be a bit of a dick, like a teacher, like somebody that's going to come down quite hard on the girls for not like behaving. But she's just one of them, basically.
She's one of
She's,
the yeah. Mm-hmm.
uh,
She's there for the bunts and all too.
she loves the months.
I love whenever she's going in, she's like looking through the book, she's like B for
I
booze,
know.
and like opens up and then when she's brushing her teeth and she pulls one out of the cistern in the toilet and all, I was like, aye, that's good crack. And
Um,
then the other
and it,
bit that was really funny, there's the fellatio bit when she's given the
uh,
area code and your girl says, the kind of dirty the dirty one says
uh,
about fellatio, fe fellatio.
yeah.
And then the other cops take the piss out of your man later for that one.
Mhm.
But the bit that actually cracked me up quite a lot was it starts almost like a jump scare. Your two boys appearing at the window, but they're part of the search party that are looking for the murderer.
Oh,
And the way they're
they got
kind
the gun
of
and all.
aye,
The
but the
guys with
way
the
they're
gun.
kind of getting on a bit like, you girls be safe.
I
Not yeah, I
know.
just imagine like I imagine those two played by wee
I know.
culchies like in my head the whole time. I was like, they're just two owl boys from the countryside with their
We're helping
shotgun.
the police tonight, boys.
Ah,
Or
jeez, we're gonna
girls.
catch that there killer. Don't you worry about it. Hey, make
Uh,
sure you keep that windows and doors locked.
there's actually I think a funny scene whenever Mrs. Mac is on the stairs and she's trying to find Claude and she's like, Claude, where are you, Claude?
She
And
drops
then
her purse.
she's like, Claude, you little prick. And just as she says that, your man or your girl's father
Or
appears.
no, it's because she drops her purse
That's
and
it.
she blames the cat for her dropping her purse, and
Picking
she's
the
like,
stuff
little
up.
bastard, and then he appears beside her, and oh fuck, they
Um,
just have again. There's a nice wee dynamic between her and the British dad.
but then when he
Is good,
turns off, she just flips him the bird as he walks away. But she was great. She was actually probably my favorite character. But I
mhm.
would have liked to see a wee bit more of Barb, and I think that Jess was okay as a final girl. Like she's never mentioned as a final girl, which I think is maybe a wee bit of a shame. But
Yeah,
she's not like a badass final girl. She's more
no,
of a she's very independent and obviously strong-minded, and I think that
okay.
her character um makes kind of I suppose she's a very sort of feminist type character, and I think a lot of people
Yeah,
would look at this film and say, "Oh, this is quite a feminist movie because of that, because of more so nothing to do with the killer, more so with her relationship with Peter and how she kind of
she's making a stance
yeah, she's pregnant
and
and she says
sticking
she
to it.
doesn't want to keep the
Yeah.
baby and she wants to have an abortion and he's like, "Wait, what?" And she's like, "Well, I've made my decision." And he tries to kind of twist her and say, "Look, it's not just your decision to make." And she's like, "No, actually, I don't want it."
Let's get married.
I know that was
He's
the one
such a
that kind
silly.
of she
You
was
know what?
just deadpan, "I don't want to marry you" type thing, and it's like, fair play to you, love.
Yep.
Fair play to you. She's got
Fair play.
dreams. She says,
Exactly.
I want to do things." So she's very independent that way, and
Hmm.
I really like that, aspect of her character. And I kind of like that
I
she
really
wasn't
like
like a pure
whenever,
badass.
yeah. But I love that last kind of shot after Peter's gone down into the basement and they're kind of going to face off, but then it cuts. And whenever the police come round, they go down into the basement and they open the door, and the scene just lights up, and it's her lying with like Pete across her lap, all bloody. He's got blood coming out of like basically every orifice in his face.
Of course she does.
Which I'm kind of like, imagine being beat with a fucking fire poker and you just bleed from every orifice.
Mhm.
But they're both kind of lying like still, but then they sort of say, Jess, and she comes to a bit. But But yeah, I really like that kind of still moment when they first open the door and the scene lights up and it's just the two of them lying. I thought that was quite nice.
I feel like that might be based on some sort of Renaissance painting.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to look into that.
Posted on the
I'll
Instagrammers.
have to have a check and post it. Yeah, post it at the end or something. But we spoke about the ending anyway. We spoke about the ending at earlier on in this video, but we also spoke about the sort of twist that you kind of knew anyway. It was, he was in the house. I like how that was a big twist in this film. Back in 1974, that would have freaked out everyone. Oh my
Blown
God.
people's minds.
The
Yeah.
call is coming from inside the house. It's something that happens so many times in later slasher movies. Famously in Scream, they did that as well, almost to parody levels. But like this would have been a massive thing back in the early 70s, and I think they did do it quite well. And even though I knew it was happening, the reveal when it happened, I think it was done very well.
It was a good moment, yeah. But again, one
Yeah,
of
it was
those
a
things
nice
like
moment.
seeing that mile off. I like whenever the police officer is trying to explain to Jess that she has to leave the house. He's like, just whatever you're doing, just leave it. Walk out the house, walk out the house, leave calmly, walk out the house. And she's like, oh no, we'll have to go back and get. And he's like, and then he just flips and he's like, the killer's in the house. You have to get out the house. That like, I really like that moment of him trying to remain calm so as not to startle her, but then losing his shit because he's like, I need you to get out of there because the killer's in the house.
But yeah, so no, I really enjoyed watching it today. I said I think I've only watched it once before fully that I can remember anyway. And I think it's a great film. Yes, I do agree it's a wee bit slow in places early on,
Good. I think
but it's so influential that you can't deny, its status as one of the top slashers, I think, anyway.
Yeah, Gav, it's only gone bloody happened again. The more we've talked about it, the more I'm kind
Ew!
of like, all right, actually, yeah.
Ew!
But you know what? I do think it's just one of those things because it dilly dallies to get to that point that I know is coming. But when it
Yeah,
does get there, it is good. It's executed well.
yeah.
It's just the same. The execution takes a little warming up.
Mhm.
But yes, and I think I would have liked just maybe a wee bit more. You don't have to explain everything to your audiences. You don't have to reveal all. But I just think I would have liked a little bit more of reveal salt on my killer, please. Just give me a bit more. But I know that because I was looking up after this one to see about like the Black Xmas, and then there was another like Black Christmas not
Blumhouse.
too long ago. Yeah. But the Black Xmas one seems to be like a sequel more than a remake or a reboot. From what I could see in the description about it,
Okay. I've never
seems to
seen
be a
either
bit.
of the remakes,
Yeah,
stroke reboots, whatever,
maybe
but
we could maybe if anybody would be interested in us talking about Black Xmas,
I know that
let us know in
the
the comments below.
the most recent one that was out just a few years ago, produced by Blumhouse, didn't get great reviews. But I think Black Xmas, it has got a nice cult following. I think, I'm not saying
Yeah.
it's great, like, but it's got okay reviews, and I think some of the guys, maybe Bob Clark helped produce it or something, or
Okay.
some of the guys involved in the OG helped kind of produce it and were part of the production anyway. So no,
Okay.
it'd
So
be
maybe
interesting.
maybe it does have a bit of a closer connection
Yeah,
to the original, but yeah, I was kind of looking after to be like, right, well, what sort of spawned from this? But yeah, it's alright. It's worth a
tight,
watch.
tight, tight. Well, that's all the time we have tonight talking about Black Christmas on our very special Xmas special. Santa Claus is coming, or he's been and
It's
gone
been,
actually. It's
yeah,
Boxing
it's
Day.
Boxing Day.
He's been and gone.
We hope you've enjoyed your Christmas. You
We
got
do.
all
Yeah.
that you wanted from Santa, and that you're having a good feed and a good drink.
We hope you feel sick with because
Cheers
you've
to
you've
yous.
you've eaten so much. Cheers, cheers, Danny. Here's to
Yeah.
another year of fucking Monday night frights and
Monday
putting
Night Frights
screenings
and
on, and
articles and
hopefully everything's going
editorials
well with the
and
website.
interviews and
So, yep.
thank you very much to all those who've supported us over the
Yep.
last year.
Thank you very much.
We will see you in the new year.
We certainly
The
will.
next one will be in the new year.
We've
And
still
I
got a
think
couple of episodes left of this
still a
season
few
to
more
go.
episodes to go this season, so we will see us in the new year, and then yeah, that'll be that. So
That'll be it. So
Alright.
go to Twitter and Instagram, follow us at the Fright Club NI, and go and follow the Facebook page as well if you can. We'd really appreciate that. Check out the website. It's thefrightclubni.com, and we will be putting up the winners of the Frighties Awards within the next week. Hopefully New Year's Day, we're going to announce all those winners from the Fright Awards.
We
If you
hope
haven't
you
voted
voted.
though, yeah, if you haven't, you go to the website now. I'll maybe put a link in the description below as well, and cast your vote. You've still got time to do that. There's 15 categories with 4 nominations in each category, so we'd appreciate your support with that one. And as always, subscribe to the channel if you can, like the videos, share the videos, comment on the videos, tell all your horror pals. That's the best way that you can support us, just by spreading the gospel of the Fright Club. Danny, anything else?
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the bell, ding-a-ling.
I've just said that.
Do it again.
I'm sorry. I should have. That's your bit. I should have let you do
That's
that.
my bit. I'm still going to do my bit regardless.
Of course,
it's my
absolutely, 100%. This fucking light keeps hitting my. I don't know if that was the good idea wearing this, but
yeah, well,
I look like a
you
Christmas
look
gangster.
festive as fuck.
I do. But we hope you enjoyed our Christmas special episode talking about Black Christmas. If you haven't seen the OG film, go and watch it now. It's fucking great. Danny didn't like it, but
it's alright. It's okay. It's not that I didn't like it. It's fine. It's fine.
It's okay. Until 2 weeks. Stay safe. Take care. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. And as always, please do talk about Fright Club. Bye.
Bye. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Ho ho ho.
Cheers.